Hey everyone, I'm going to stick to our 7 p.m. start. Caroline is helping our fellow patrons. Um,
We got Gramps and Gramps over
Yeah,
there
yeah.
trying to figure out how to use Twitter.
Yeah.
But I love y'all for being here.
Dang.
I love them for being here.
dang! Oh my God! Listen, Kevin, Sean, I love you. I love you. I appreciate the black part of our show. Appreciate you.
Oh,
Just so you know,
the white does too. Thank you very much.
I love you too. Love you too.
My God.
Yeah, but that's the reason why Caroline was offset when we started. But hey, welcome back. This is week 7 of our show and week 10 of college football. 11 of college football.
It doesn't matter anymore.
It does matter because tonight we got some interesting
rankings.
Rankings, but nothing really changed in the top 4. But some people fell out and some people climbed in.
Yeah, so we saw Peekaboo from TCU jumping into the 6th spot. So we've got 2 Big 12 teams back to back in the 5 and 6 hole. That is OU and TCU who play this weekend. So probably won't stay that way for another week, but it'll be interesting right now, especially with them playing this week, to see what happens. But we'll talk about that matchup a little bit later.
Yeah. What about do you like Georgia being number 1 still?
For sure. I think they have a better strength of schedule so far, and I think that they deserve that number 1 hole right now. And I think at the end of the day, does it really matter if you're 1 or 2?
It doesn't matter as long
for
as you're in there.
pride
And you,
know.
yeah, for sure. If you're that, but I think right now it doesn't matter because Alabama and Georgia are both really, really good teams, and I think that once that game is played, it'll be interesting to see how everyone else looks in the country. Because if there's a bunch of 2-loss teams and there's only a 1-loss Alabama or 1-loss Georgia, how do you not put both of them in, even though it's the last game of the regular season being the SEC championship? But in order to go to the SEC championship, Alabama still has to play a couple of teams. They got Mississippi State this weekend, who has a dual threat quarterback.
Yeah.
But receivers are kind of hobbled up, so I don't think that Mississippi State will have enough firepower. So they play number 16 Mississippi State at Mississippi State, and then at the end of the year they go to Auburn before facing off in Georgia, which we presume to be the SEC championship game in Atlanta.
There's been lots of talk about, well, what if Auburn's able to pull off wins against Georgia and then pull off a win against Alabama? With their 2 losses, do you think they could be the first 2-loss team to make it into the college football playoff?
If Auburn beats Alabama and Georgia, which Auburn is sitting at number 10 right now, and Georgia loses to Alabama in the SEC championship game, I will give the 2-loss team to Auburn over Georgia, but it's going to be very, very hard to make that case because they did lose to LSU earlier this year. That loss to LSU when they jumped up.
We're getting ahead of ourselves, presuming that. Just because the games are at home, I don't think Alabama's going to struggle against Georgia. I don't think Auburn. I don't think Georgia will struggle against Auburn as well.
Auburn is picked to beat Georgia on my ESPN app.
By 7.
I mean, hey, it's not my fault. I don't pick it. Vegas does. Okay, one of my favorite games is Convicts versus Catholics. Who do you have? Catholics? Who do you have, Kevin?
No, I got
Catholics.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the Catholics on this one.
Sean? Sean's still figuring out Twitter. But I think before...
The retweet is the square.
Now the black part of the show.
Oh, I'm sorry. I like Notre Dame.
Yeah.
They've been at home for a very, very long time, and they have to go on the road twice in the next 3 weeks, and that gets scary. They got to go down to South Beach, Miami. The weather will probably be great in Florida.
I'm picking Miami.
Miami's defense is playing really well, and I mean, the 30 for 30 has this dynasty, this matchup being one of the best, ever. I think I like Wimbush. I like what Notre Dame can do with the offensive line and the running game.
When you break it down, though, Notre Dame has 3 wins over teams currently ranked in the top 20.
And none being against number 7 Miami.
But they've proven that they can get up for these big games, and they handle their business. And I think that's exactly what they're going to do.
But they're playing these games at home, too. It's you got to go up to South Bend and win games. It's different. I'm going to take Notre Dame because they run behind their running back, Adams, right? Josh Adams. And
he did not have a stellar performance last weekend.
But him and Wimbush will take over this game. And I think Notre Dame's defense plays well enough to keep Miami from getting too rowdy in South Beach. I'm going to take Notre Dame. I'm going to take the Catholics, even though I went to a small Baptist school in Waco, Texas. But Notre Dame has to be rooting for Stanford to continue to win now, who dropped out of the top 25 this week. And they got to go to Stanford at the end of the year. So Notre Dame doesn't have an easy schedule now, but they played well and they fared well against everyone on their team, on their schedule. I think Clemson probably has the worst schedule during this time of the year, but early in the season, they did what they had to do. Clemson is going to play Florida State, and I think the Citadel, and then South Carolina. South Carolina being the best of those 3 teams remaining on the Clemson schedule. So from Clemson's standpoint, Clemson is hoping that Miami beats Notre Dame. So when they play Miami in the ACC championship game, they're probably going to play a number 4, number 5 Miami team at that time.
Yeah.
And obviously, Clemson wins out regardless of what Miami does. I think they're in the playoffs. Yeah. But it helps them position themselves to play number 2 or possibly 1-ranked team, depending on what Auburn does, against Georgia and Alabama. Oklahoma and TCU got a big showdown this week. I think Oklahoma will edge them. Baker Mayfield is playing some really, really good ball this year. Despite throwing 2 picks, a pick very, very late in the Bedlam game. They almost cost their game. But Oklahoma, TCU, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, all still in the running for that Big 12 championship game. Right. And, Oklahoma State's probably the team that's looking on the outside in, looking for help because they have 2 losses. They can go and beat Iowa State this week, which will be a great game. But that Big 12 is looking very, very dicey. I don't think we can submit a 2-loss Big 12 team. So whoever wins this game, Oklahoma or TCU, they will have to win the game again in the Big 12 championship, which most likely these 2 teams will face each other here in about 4 more weeks. Yeah. We already talked about Miami to wrap up that quick reaction to what's happening. I feel bad for Wisconsin. Yeah. But it was 9-0, but there was a time where
undefeated meant top dogs.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's hard to go undefeated no matter who you're playing. But what happened with Wisconsin is they haven't played anyone, and then half of the season, most of the season, everyone they played, no one had a winning record. Yeah. And so it's tough when you're supposed to beat up on teams. You're supposed to you're supposed to win those games, and they have done that. They're going to need to win that Big 10 championship against one of those teams from the West. But we'll see. We will see. They got to face Iowa here in a couple weeks, and it's going to be a big game. Who took care of business
against Iowa State?
Yeah, and Iowa City. Those kids were waving bye-bye to JT Barrett and his Heisman hopes. Yeah. So hype and no hype.
Yeah, jumping over to Heisman hopes, we saw several contenders really kind of lose a lot of their draft stock this week. One of those being JT Barrett, who had 4 interceptions. This past week, Bryce Love at Stanford It's 69 rushing yards, and our boy Saquon Barkley only 63 rushing yards, 111 all-purpose yards. But his main job on the field is to run the ball, and he didn't do that efficiently this last week. And then you've got Baker Mayfield, who comes in with stats of his life, leading the school with 598 yards and 6 touchdowns. I mean, he's for sure the top contender now, and it'd be tough to see someone jumping in. But I was telling Terrance before this, I was like, if somehow Auburn does come in and beat, Georgia's going to their house. But if Auburn can get wins against Georgia and Alabama, maybe there's a top contender from their team that has 2 stellar performances and
Jarrett Stidham.
Could be.
No one's gonna believe me, but I've said it on air, or I said it live in a recording. No one's gonna believe me, but in August, I said there will be a Baylor University quarterback that wins the Heisman Trophy this year, but he doesn't go to Baylor. And ouch. I wasn't talking about a new Solomon. Sorry, Kevin. But I said Jarrett Stidham wins the Heisman this year. If he can knock off Notre Dame, not Notre Dame, he doesn't play Notre Dame. Georgia. He may play Notre Dame in the playoff game, but who cares? Anyways, if he can beat Georgia this weekend, and he can beat Alabama in 3 weeks, he gets both of those games at home. Their crowd is going to be, they're going to be ecstatic. Yeah. He played an awesome game against A&M last week on the road, did what they needed to do to come back home. I like Jarrett Stidham a lot. I know the guy. His girlfriend just won the Big 12 championship game with soccer. So I know that much from following him on Twitter.
Here you go.
I'm not a huge fan of Baker Mayfield. Heisman favorite right now. But I'm going to tell you who has to pass the sticks this week.
Who's passing?
JT Barrett. I've never seen someone rise and fall so fast. What was the one guy that had the job for like 10 days? He had a political job for like 10 days and he got fired.
Oh.
Anyway, we don't want to talk about
crazy last name.
We don't want to talk about politics on the show. I'm sorry.
The House Speaker, not House Speaker.
No, that's the guy had like the job for 10 days.
Sandusky. No.
Jeez. Oh my goodness.
It's an S name.
Yeah. So, anyways, let's just pass the sticks on that conversation.
And Caroline.
But JT Barrett. I mean, last week he leapfrogged in front of the Heisman race, and he just did exactly what he had to do against Penn State. Threw a touchdown with, less than 2 minutes left to go in the game, to win that game, to come back late in that game, to beat Penn State 39-38. This week, guess how he starts out the game? He starts out the game by throwing it to Amani Hooker, who is not on his team, by the way, for a touchdown. 7-0. 14 minutes, 52 seconds left in the first quarter, and it did not get much better from there. He had 3 touchdowns, 4 INTs, and Iowa State and Iowa City was rocking. If you want to look at a very, very cool picture, go look at the picture of Iowa State fans rushing the field. Iowa fans rushing the field. It is completely black. Yeah. And there's going to be a photo that's going to have a lot of people's names and signatures on it. Yeah. And Iowa State is going to, Booster is going to sell that for millions of dollars, and none of the athletes are going to get the proceeds because athletes cannot get paid.
Still bitter about this.
Okay, let's go into our matchups.
All right. So we've pretty much covered national matchups, like going over the top 7 in the rankings. So Big 12 this week, we've got West Virginia and K-State. West Virginia coming off a win against Iowa State, so they needed that. They needed to get back on track, and they held Iowa State to 350 yards. And Kansas State, I mean, they did just beat a Tech team, but that was in overtime, and I think West Virginia definitely still wins this game.
Yeah, you said they struggled?
Who?
Who? What? West Virginia struggles this game?
No, I think they definitely still win this
game. Okay. K-State, they handle business against
Tech?
I feel sorry for Tech. I had Tech being number 2 in the Big 12 early. And there's Kevin. If you didn't know, please follow Kevin, but you cannot retweet him because
He's private.
His account is private. But I like West Virginia over K-State. West Virginia offense completely, wheels fell off in the second half against Iowa State. Iowa State does really great things on defense that a lot of people, can't figure out in the Big 12. They stopped, Oklahoma late in the game, and they stopped TCU. TCU had a lot of turnovers, a lot inside the red zone, and then they completely shut down Iowa State. West Virginia last week, but they didn't have any offense.
Yeah.
So Iowa State, who goes into our next matchup against Oklahoma State, I like Oklahoma State in this game. A few years ago, Oklahoma State won the Big 12 in 2011. They won that game. And there was a couple of reasons. Oklahoma State winning that game with a heavy heart. There was a time when the plane crash happened.
Yeah.
And so Oklahoma State winning that game with a heavy, heavy heart in 2011 and just couldn't pull out a win. I don't think that's the case this year. Oklahoma State knows that they have to beat this team to stay eligible for the Big 12 championship, to have a rematch against TCU or Oklahoma, whichever. And Iowa State has to do the exact same. So it'll be one of those matchups like Oklahoma and TCU that you must play and must win.
Right.
But I have Oklahoma State winning that game.
Yeah, me too. Touching on Texas and Kansas, not much to talk about, but I did want to give you the only thing that's important about this game is Texas is having a canned food drive with Whataburger. If you bring 2 or more tickets, you get you get a ticket for $20. And that's all you need to know about that game.
And we already know Whataburger is better than In-N-Out because the Houston Astros won the World Series.
Over the Dodgers, so that makes Whataburger better than In-N-Out.
Well, I didn't like In-N-Out anyways, but
I kind of like it.
No, man, it's dog meat. If you like eating kibbles and bits, go to In-N-Out. I got Kansas beating Texas.
No.
Listen, last time they went up to Kansas.
Okay, fair. Texas did lose to Kansas last year.
They did. And Baylor beat
this game
Kansas.
is in Austin. There's a new coach in town.
Nobody's going to be at this game, so I don't know why you're hyping it up.
I'm not hyping it up.
Okay, Texas win, but Kansas plays a dang good game because Kansas is a tough football team.
I don't know about that. And then we got TCU and Oklahoma. Obviously, Baker's coming off of one of the best games of the season, and that could either go 2 ways. Do you think he's exhausted still?
I think Baker Mayfield came back and did not go to the draft because Mason Rudolph had an ideal of what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And Baker Mayfield is determined to go to the national championship, win a Heisman, go to the national championship, and win a national championship. TCU comes to town, and they're planning to disrupt that. And the only way that Baker Mayfield can – last game is over. They beat Oklahoma State, which they had to do.
Right.
And they have to win this weekend. I think Oklahoma has the offense to do it, especially if they get loose like they did against Oklahoma State's defense. TCU won't let them do that.
Yeah.
Oklahoma's a really, really good team. They play flat at home this year. I think TCU comes out and gets a W.
TCU?
I think TCU goes to Norman and beats Oklahoma.
Should be interesting. 7 out of the last games have been decided by one possession. So they always play each other close, and so this will be very interesting. They lost at home to Iowa State this year, so we haven't seen their track record of a home game meaning a whole lot to them. So
TCU understands what this means, and I think Gary Patterson wants a Big 12 championship. He wants to get into that playoff. He might have to beat Oklahoma twice.
If TCU beats Oklahoma, you still think it's TCU and Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship game?
Yeah, unless Oklahoma loses. No matter who loses this game, unless Iowa State beats Oklahoma State. No matter who. Okay, let's just put it like this: if Oklahoma State beat Iowa State, no matter who loses the game, and they win out, each team wins out, they'll play in the Big 12 championship because it's outside looking in. Now, if Iowa State wins, they have the head-to-head if TCU loses.
Yeah.
Baylor, Texas Tech. Charlie Brewer coming off his first start. Charlie Brown in the game is in town.
He hit 23 of 29 for a total of 315 yards and 3 touchdowns. Got it done in Kansas.
In front of about 1,500 people.
Well, he get it done against Texas Tech this week in front of a lot more people.
Yeah, if he'll start, I haven't really kept up with anything.
Who else would start?
Zach Smith is the starter, but he may come back. Is he done? They said he's out this week too.
No shot.
Hey, I don't know, man. Charlie Brewer is probably the guy for Matt Rule, Jeff Nixon, and Thomas. I don't know. Charlie Brewer is gonna. I think Baylor can win this game. My fear is that Charlie Brewer is going to feel like he needs to get in the shootout with Cheminette, and I think Cheminette is a better shootout quarterback at this stage in his career. When you start getting in the shootout with other teams, Baylor's defense is going to have to play really good to hold Texas Tech to a manageable game. So Charlie Brewer doesn't have to do, experienced quarterback things.
And Baylor has the last 3 games against Tech. Hold on. Let me read my stat real fast because I'm confusing myself, you guys. But against Tech, my goodness gracious.
Just read it from word for word. Tech is on a 4-game losing streak.
No, this one. The last 3 games against Baylor, Tech has averaged 600 yards.
Did they average 600 yards against everyone?
Yes, but they're gonna do it again, and like you just said, if you try to get Charlie Brewer in a shootout against Cheminette, he's gonna lose.
Well, Phil Snow he's got a different game plan, and these guys are not used to Phil Snow. So I'm gonna give Phil Snow credit. Baker Mayfield had 600 yards passing. He didn't have 300 against Baylor. Now Mason Rudolph in game, they did put up a record when we played Oklahoma State. I just don't think Texas Tech is clicking on all cylinders. But I don't want Charlie Brewer to get in the shootout. I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
If it's a close game,
And he will be.
if it's under 35 points, Baylor wins. If it gets over 35 points, I don't see Baylor's offense scoring 35 points.
How with Baylor's defense, passing defense ranks 115, rushing defense ranks 112. How do you think they're going to stop Texas Tech?
Texas Tech don't stop themselves. I said if it's under 35 points. If we allow Texas Tech to score 36 points, we lose. It's as simple as that. We keep them to 35. I think our offense can go out there and score 35 points or more on Texas Tech and win the game. It's up to Phil Snow. What big game are you watching closely this weekend?
I have my nephew's 1-year-old birthday party, so.
Well,
No.
You can come babysit my kids if you want.
We'll have the games on. I mean, I'm super stoked for Georgia and Auburn and Miami and Notre Dame, so I can't say that I'm going to be tuning into the Big 12 too hard this weekend, but Oklahoma, TCU.
Yeah, I'll be keeping an eye on Iowa State and Oklahoma State because that still plays a big part into how the Big 12 will wind up. But I'm very interested to see this TCU and Oklahoma game.
Yeah.
I think this is the game of the weekend. I know Notre Dame. Yeah. You don't think so?
I think Notre Dame, Miami.
I think TCU Oklahoma is a bigger game than that. Miami really hasn't played anybody. I think Notre Dame's going to go in there and handle business.
Yeah, but if Miami does win, then they're going to knock Notre Dame out of the top 3 and shake up the top 4.
Okay, but then TCU and Oklahoma better jump back in that thing. And that's what you want. Man, I'm just saying. I got TCU winning. I got Notre Dame winning. And if that's the case, obviously Oklahoma drops out of the top 5. But and TCU still has to win out and most likely play Oklahoma again in the Big 12 championship.
Time will tell.
Time will tell. That's why you play the game. X's and O's always win on the board. Players always win on the stat line, and that's why you play the game. You play the game to say, hey, this is how we're going to execute. You try to stop us, and execution wins games. So these teams that want to win, they take care of the ball, convert third downs, and don't have insanely amount of turnovers and penalties. They put themselves in position to make a break. And the pressure busts pipes. We'll see what team can handle pressures. Yeah. I mean, Georgia they have a big game on the road, and at Auburn.
That's what Penn State said last week. They said we're not mature enough to sit through the. That TV looks cool in the background.
Yeah, it's too bad, too close. Who's that?
Anyway, Penn State was saying they're not mature enough to sit through the 3.5-hour rain delay, come out and beat Michigan State.
Yeah, that sucked. But at the end of the day, judged by wins and losses, they lost the game.
Yeah.
One team was mature and one team wasn't. I mean, you can make up excuses all you want. Alabama got pressure on them. They got to go to Mississippi State. Notre Dame has to go to number 7 Miami. Clemson doesn't play anybody the rest of the year. They have South Carolina, and then most likely they'll play Miami in the ACC championship game. Oklahoma and TCU, they have pressure this week. Auburn, if they want to be a 2-loss team to play in the championship game and play in the playoff game, they have to win this week. Those are big pressure matches, and I think college football is going to be shaken up this weekend. And I'm here for all of it.
Yeah.
Give me the feels.
On your couch.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna sit on the couch. I'll probably be walking around picking up toys and trying not to step on Legos. You know what would be really cool if Notre Dame beats Miami and Miami beats Clemson in the ACC championship, and both Notre Dame and Miami get back in the playoff, and they play in the national championship game. 2 story programs.
Bet money on that.
I just said it'd be cool. I don't think anyone from the Big Ten is going to play. I don't even know who Wisconsin has this week. Probably no one that's ranked because they don't play anybody that's ranked. And they're going to have a big game. I just feel bad for Wisconsin because they can't control the schedule, and they beat everyone. They're going to have to make a huge statement in that Big Ten championship game, which it looks like it's going to be against Ohio State. But anyways.
Come out to 3 Nations, join the Gramps, and I'll teach you some stats about Twitter.
Yeah. And also, watch our video because last week we were very disappointed with the views. I don't know if Halloween just threw y'all off or it's going on Wednesday, but we need y'all to get it together for sure. And if you
can't yell at viewers.
I'm sorry, but this is at the end of the show, so even if I'm yelling at them, they've already watched the show. So, yeah. But anyways, we kept you under 30 minutes. Thank you so much for watching us and just being a part of our show. It's been fun.
Yeah.
So, dab on them. All right, Cam Newton. You have a good one. We'll see y'all next week. Happy football this week. Take care.